The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, the 5 ways to attain a happier and more fulfilled workday with the Hello Mindful app. I'm Pierre Kowand, and I'll be your guide for today's webinar. So welcome. And just to make sure that you can hear me and see the screen, if you could volunteer and put in a quick note in the questions panel, which is one of the panels on the right-hand side of your screen, just letting me know that you're able to hear me and see the screen. Excellent. Thank you to those who have answered already, and welcome. So to tell you a little bit about today, I have two notes to share with you before we dive into the actual ways and demonstrations. The first one about the Hello Mindful app, it's really about habit forming. So that's what the app is about. It's the vehicle to attain some really worthwhile habits, which we'll talk about. And second, that there are many ways to use the app. It's not that you have to use it all the time and use all the features. It really depends. So now, in terms of those habits that are going to help us attain a happier and more fulfilled workday, these are the different habits that the app can help you uh, train yourself to have and acquire. So first is focusing, helping you focus more. And we all know the huge advantages if we become more focused. And then being more intentional, choosing what you do instead of just randomly taking on things, which happens a lot during our work day. And then taking care of ourselves. So taking intentional breaks that can help us be refreshed, and also be more clear with our team as to when we're focused and when we're collaborative, so we can facilitate the collaboration and not continuously interrupt each other. And this is a two-way street, not only being clear with them, but also being mindful and respectful of other people's focus time. So this is a very reciprocal relationship. And then finally, giving us the data so we can reflect how we're spending our time, how we want to spend our time, and then make adjustments as needed. So these are the habits that if we put those in practice, these have some amazing benefits in terms of both allowing us to accomplish, but also allowing us to feel less stressed and more fulfilled. So now, in terms of how the app can help us get there are many ways. So I'd like to share with you what we describe as being the 5 personas. And each of these personas represent a whole different way of using the app and attaining some of those benefits that we just described. Now, in terms of questions and answers, I'm going to actually have this at the end, because typically what we encounter in this session is that many of the questions you have will be answered as we go through more of the personas. So if questions come up, feel free to jot a note maybe for yourself. And then at the end, I'm going to open up for questions and answers so we can get a chance to hear from you and address the issues that you might have questions about. So let's start with the first persona, and that is the to-do list maker, Joan. So Joan likes to have to-do lists. With Hello Mindful, however, she changed her approach to to-do lists. Instead of starting her day by looking at an existing, never-ending, overwhelming to-do list, she would start with a fresh page, and that will be the actual today page. Actually, this is Paul. Let me move to Joan. So she would move to the today page. She would go to the today page in Hello Mindful, which is a fresh page, and giving her the opportunity to ask a simple question and answer that question intuitively. The question is, what do I want to accomplish today? And answer that question without looking at to-do lists or email or calendar. It's just letting her intuition tell her what are the few key important things that if she were to accomplish today, she's going to feel good. She's going to be closer to her goals. So in her case, she came up with a few items. So I'm going to go ahead and enter those items. So she said she's going to update the job description. She's going to edit that article and also get feedback from John. So that's what she started with. And now as the day progresses, she's likely to add more and more items. So this becomes her to-do list for the day. Now, in addition, what she also can do is click on show more and see any outstanding items from previous days. So if she does have outstanding items, she can decide to actually work on them today so she can quickly bring them to the today list. Now, aside from all this, during a busy day, she's likely also to have a lot of thoughts and other to-dos that come to her, but they're things she doesn't necessarily want to do today. So in this case, she would go to the capture page and she will add them to the capture page. And then the capture page also has a history. So she can look at the history and see other things from previously captured days. And she might decide to bring some of those items to today capture page if she wants. And some of these items, if she decides to work on them today, she can easily move an item to today and it becomes part of the today page. So that's kind of her to-do list. Her to-do list becomes very fresh and it still helps her track previous items from previous days. It's the biggest deal is that it's a fresh start every single day, and yet it's a very good way of tracking all kinds of items that come up during a busy day and then have access to them either through the today page or the capture page while you still have access to the history. Now, in addition to all this, she also has a log. Obviously, in this case, we didn't do anything yet, so there's nothing in the log, but she does have a log where she can track the things she has completed. So she can also look back and think about the things she has done already. So this is to-do list maker Joan. So this is one way to use the app in a very simple but very refreshing and productive way. So in the case of Joan, as I mentioned, what's really important is starting fresh instead of drowning in all these long and overwhelming to-do lists that she may have in other apps or other stores, and then also capturing things as they come up and also tracking unfinished items. Now, one little additional comment I want to make here. It doesn't mean that Joan abandons her existing to-do lists. She still refers to them, but instead of being always preoccupied with them and have them drive her work, which can be very inefficient, she just looks at them as being one more storage of items to consider. And the ones she wants to do today, then she brings with her to the today page. So that's her approach. Okay, so we talked about our first persona. Let's jump into the second one, and that's Paul. So this is mindful Paul. So what's important to Paul is to be intentional and be aware of time. Also to spend some time reflecting. So he can see how he's spending his time and what adjustments he wants maybe make, and also be more attentive to his own wellness and take care of himself. So that's why we call him the mindful Paul. So let's see how the mindful Paul will use the app and how the app can help him achieve those goals. So we're going to move to a different browser here with Paul logged in. So for Paul, probably the most important page in the app is the Now page. So with the Now page, whenever he starts to work on a task, small or big, he would first enter that task in the Now page and get started. So this way, he's very intentional. He's not just taking on tasks here and there and not knowing or not deciding that that's what he wants to work on. So he's very intentional, and he's always aware of how much time he's spending on the different tasks. So I'd like to share with you a few more things before I show you a little more about what Paul does. First of all, Paul seems to work in longer increments. So for Paul, 15 minutes is too short, and he feels like he would like to work more in 30-minute increments. So Paul goes to the settings and changes the time increment from 15 to 30. And now when he goes to work on a task, the default will be 30. So that's a flexibility that Paul has. Now, when Paul starts to work on the task, that task could potentially come from the today page, from the list that he has done during that day. So in which case he can just go to the today page and start the task from here. Or it could be something new that wasn't planned. Or it could be a request from somebody or an idea he has about something he'd like to work on. So it could be either or. So let's say in this case, he decided to work on this design brief. And as soon as he starts his task, obviously now he's more aware of time. He knows that his intention is to focus on this task and as much as possible reduce other interruptions. But if he has thoughts, which is the biggest interruption of all, about other things to do, he can quickly capture them, go to the capture page, say, oh yeah, I need to also remember to brainstorm with the team about this other thing. And then quickly he comes back and continues to be focused on what he's doing. Or if he remembers something he needs to do today, he might add it to the today page, come back and stay focused. So the app anyway gives him that peace of mind, that ability to all these thoughts and other things that come up, to park them in safe places and continue to be focused on what he's focused on. Now, there are times when Paul gets interrupted by an urgent, important other task. So he needs to stop working on his current task and take on the other task. So in this case, he would use the switch symbol and start to work on the other one. Let's say it's a client issue that came up. And now in the log, he can easily tell that that create design brief was not completed because he sees that switch symbol here that he had to switch. So later in the day when he looks at the log, he can quickly look at the few things that weren't completed and plan on completing them. So again, being mindful of the work he's doing, being mindful of what's not complete, and therefore not having to remember and put a lot of things in his own mind. Now, we also mentioned that Paul is interested in his own wellness, so he makes sure that he has a number of breaks that he takes often. So he designed his own breaks in the mindful breaks page. So these are the ones that work for him. In addition, you can see here he added a reminder so that at the end of each task, every time he finishes a task, he will be reminded to take this break. And he does take those breaks and feels good throughout the day as a result. So one last thing I want to mention before we move on to our next persona is that Paul is also very attentive to what he's accomplishing. So whenever he's done with a task, as he presses that done button, he also takes a mindful moment to appreciate the fact that he did accomplish this and that the effort that he put into this. So this is also helping us remember and not just skip over our little accomplishments and therefore end the day tired, exhausted. All we're thinking about is what we haven't accomplished. So we really need those moments of appreciation throughout the day as we finish and put effort into different things, which will add up to having us finish our day being a little more energized and a little bit more appreciative of what we've done. So he also makes sure that he does this. So this is Paul. So being intentional, reflecting, and then self-care. Actually, one more quick thing about reflecting. So the way Paul reflects is it's in the log at the end of the day where he can quickly look and see where he spent his time. And obviously, in a full day, he would have many more tasks here completed, and he would see exactly how much time he spent on each. And in addition, he can get a quick summary of his day to see how he did today, including how many breaks he took, his engagement level, which is actually a more advanced feature. We won't talk about it today, but it's in the app. And that's all part of that reflection. It's a habit that can be very powerful if we have the means to do it, and that's what Hello Mindful does. Okay. So those who got in a little late on the call, just to do a very quick summary. So we're going over the different ways to use Hello Mindful in order to achieve the very benefits that it can bring us. And it's really about developing habits, about forming habits, and those are the different habits that we're trying to form. So they're all things that most people aspire for and admire, but usually it's hard to really do them and make them and turn them into habits, and that's where the app can really help. So we already talked about the to-do list maker Joan, our first persona. We talked about the mindful Paul, and now we're getting into the collaborator Heidi. And this session is recorded, so those who missed the first few minutes, you'll be able to view the recording and catch up on it. So Heidi is our collaborator. So what's really important to Heidi is be able to focus when she needs to focus, but still be very responsive to her team's requests. So she wants to be able to manage and balance between her focus time and her collaborative time. And overall, she has even a bigger goal, which is she'd like to create a culture of effective collaboration where people are more attentive and mindful of each other's focus time. And yet at the same time, they're attentive and mindful of each other's needs, and they can balance between the two. So going to Heidi, so I'm going to go have one more browser here with Heidi logged into it. So with this, in this case, when Heidi takes on a task, so let's say she's working on the design of the new brochure. As soon as she starts to work on it, you see that her status here changes to red. So that means other people who are collaborating with her, they're gonna see that. So for instance, if Joan is on her team, Joan can go to the collaborate page, and before she pings Heidi or go talk to Heidi, she would look and see that Heidi is focused, and therefore she prefers not to be interrupted right now. By the way, what Heidi did before she started to do this, she actually had that conversation with the team and talked about why it's important that they manage focus time and collaborative time, and invited the team to do the same. So she also wants to be mindful of the team's focus times, and therefore not interrupt them when they're focused. So it was more of a two-way conversation, setting expectations, talking about how she's using the app in this case, and maybe inviting the team to do the same. And that's what she did. So now, what if Heidi needs an important question? She has an important question. Actually, not Heidi, Joan. What if Joan has an important question that she needs an answer from Heidi? So knowing that Heidi is focused, she will add a note to Heidi's queue. So she will tell her that she has a question about the Excel formula and the new spreadsheet, and it's a very high urgency, and that she would like to talk to her in person, and maybe even add some more details here. So as soon as she posts her note, let's go back to Heidi. Heidi is going to see here this number 1, which means that there is somebody waiting for her. There is somebody in her queue. And there might be 1, there might be 2, there might be 3 people. But the idea behind this is that she doesn't look at this yet. She finishes her focused increment. And when she's done with her focus increment, that's when she goes to her queue and she sees who's waiting for her and what they need from her and how they want to be contacted and how urgent that is. And then she tries to handle those sooner than later because she wants to reciprocate, because these people have respected her focus time and not interrupted her. So she's going to respond to them as soon as possible. So this becomes a give and take and something that would work for everyone. So she goes, she resolves maybe this issue, maybe she will call Joan or go talk to her, and then once she resolves it, she can click resolve and it will disappear from her queue. So this is a whole different way of collaborating and creating a culture where instead of everybody interrupting everybody at all times, and then people who really need some focus time can hardly get it, and it's sometimes not easy to have those conversations, so the app makes it more possible. So collaborator Heidi. Okay, the next 2 scenarios are actually pretty simple because they build on the scenarios we just did, but they have some uniqueness to them. So I think it's still good to look at them. So on the go Manu. So Manu is out and about quite often. And what he wants to do, what's important to him, is to be able to capture items and information on the go. So with the mobile app, as you know, Hello Mindful has 3 versions. So we have the web version, the iOS, and the Android. And so he may be working when he's at his desk, he may be working on the web app, but then when he's out and about, which for him is quite often, he needs to add things to capture page or to the today page, or be reminded still about some of the mindful breaks. But in addition, he wants to go and talk to people. So he really wants to also be aware where people are. Are they focused? Are they collaborative? So that's why for him, it's that syncing between the mobile app and the web app that's crucial. And he'll be using the mobile app more often than not. And one thing I didn't mention, I just thought about it, is when somebody's focused, like Heidi, she can manually change her status. Maybe even though she's focused, she may be open for interactions. So she can change herself to green. And that tells other people that now she's available. So that's one thing I wanted to bring to your attention. But there's also a third status, which is that yellow, which means that she's open to interactions, but only very important and urgent ones. So also giving people the idea that she is focused, she will help them, but only if it's really necessary right now. So that provides additional flexibility. Okay, moving to our last but not least persona, that is Jasmine. So Jasmine is the integrator, which means she pretty much integrated a lot of what we talked about into her use of the app. So remember those habits I talked about? So for Jasmine, she's really developing most of those habits because she is using the app to be mindful and to focus, but also to capture all the to-dos so she's not holding on to them in her mind or having them scattered in different places. She also stops for that mindful moment and appreciates the little accomplishments throughout the day. She looks at the log and reflects and thinks about where she's spending her time. And overall, she remembers to take her mindful breaks and keep up with being energized and being much more calm throughout the day. So that's kind of like the ultimate goal is to get closer to where Jasmine is, but that's not necessarily the case. Each of those personas have their own way of using the app and accomplishing some level of fulfillment and feeling a little calmer in some way. So these are the different ways. I'd like to first we're gonna take now questions, but before I do that, I'm gonna tell you about a few more things, and then we'll take questions. So first of all, so this app is currently available. You can go to the web and start to use it. We have a free version. Also, you can go to the App Store or Google Play and download it and use it. So there is a free version available, which will have the basic functionality like the Now page, the mindful breaks, and the log page. So you do have that. And then if you want to start to use the to-do list features and the notifications and the reminders and some analytics, you get to the pro or then the team, which will give you the actual team collaborative features we just talked about. Now, however, what we have right now, I think some of you may know that we have something going on right now, which is called the Hello Mindful October Challenge. And we have a special for people who'd like to join that you would get a 90-day free access to the team version. So if you would like to join, and joining means you would install the app, you would start to use it daily, not necessarily all the time. It's okay to skip some days if you're out maybe traveling or have some other reasons not to, but the idea is to use it daily for the next couple weeks. This started yesterday, but I can still get you in today or tomorrow morning. And once a day, you log into the online portal. I think I have it open right here. So you would log into the online portal, and then you would just take a couple minutes to put 3 comments in the portal. I'll quickly show you what that looks like. So a benefit that you got from using the app, and then if you run into a problem or a challenge, what that was, and then if you had a wish, what would that be? So that's the challenge. This is the Hello Mindful October challenge. So you can get the app in any of those ways if you would like, or you can, if you want to be part of this, which is really the what this is also doing is emphasizing that habit forming, getting you to go there every day and start to do things differently. So there is a great advantage of using the Hello Mindful October challenge in addition to getting the 90-day free access. So this is it. And how do you join? By the way, I'm sure that's going to be one of the questions. When you exit the session today, there will be a brief survey, um, and the first question in that survey is if you would like to sign up for the October challenge. If you say yes, we will send you the information on how to get started either later today or tomorrow morning, so you can start tomorrow morning. So this is a 2-week challenge. It started already on Monday, yesterday, but you can still start today or tomorrow. So with this, let's go to questions. So I'm gonna take a look at the questions panel. So that's where you can go ahead and type questions if you have any questions. And there's a question actually that came up that I think would be good to address first because it's probably helpful for everyone. So the question is about collaboration. Like, um, how do you get other team members to collaborate with you? And this is actually really easy to do. So back to Heidi. So in the collaborate page, you have an invitations tab where you can invite people. And once you invite somebody, they're gonna receive an email pretty much indicating that you invited them. And what they need to do at that time is go log in to the app and then accept your invite. And once they do, now you're connected. You start to see them in your collaborator tab, and they start to see you in their collaborator tab. Now, the person that you invite, if they are already a user of the app and they have the team version, then it's all set. All they have to do, go back to invitations, accept your invite. If they're not a user of the app, they will need first to register and then purchase the team version, and then they'll be able to accept your invite. Now, if you are part of a team, you could initially just to have the whole team get on the app. So this way it's all taken care of. And that's what happens in the workplace. We have some team pricing for teams who want to get on it all together. But you can still do it individually if you would like. Okay, so let's see here. Vernal, does the free version sync between the web and phone versions? Yes. So the free version will sync with the web and the phone. So all versions will sync. Okay, any other questions? Okay, what's more in the online portal? Okay, let me show you the online portal again. So the online portal, we have some additional resources. We have a couple video tutorials for the app. We also put in some tips like today. Let me show you what happened today. I'm gonna go back to day 2. So for day 2, let's view the course. So for day 2, in addition to the benefit, problem, and wish, we added a tip. Basically, the tip is make an intention on what you want to be today, not just what you want to do, but what you want to be, and maybe 1 or 2 adjectives that describe your being, such as calm or energetic or expressive, and then put that on the today page, just like being a to-do item. But this one is to remind you about how you intend to be and hopefully that translates into behaving that way and having that kind of being. So yeah, these are tips are just an extra that we provide, but it's really also the other cool thing is that me and the team, we're there too, and we're answering questions, giving people input, adding some insights. Yeah, that's the advantage of being there. Okay, let's see if there are any more questions. Okay, I think that's it for now. But if questions come up, let me actually put the last slide. So this is my email, and this is Sarah's email. Sarah's helping coordinate the challenge, but also some of the support service inquiries. So feel free to reach out to either one of us if you have questions, and we hope you will benefit from the app in some way or another. So thanks for joining today, and have a great rest of your day.